we left off yesterday that if you have a document that you're going to sign, you're supposed to first read the document and then you sign it. So Gemara says, Lahalocha, we rule like the Rabbanon, that even if you don't read it, somebody else reads it on your behalf, you can rely on somebody else's reading, and then you sign it. So Gemara tells over a story of Rabbi Yehuda. So Rashi says when he was old, he had difficulty reading. He actually made the effort to the point that he was pained to be able to read it before he put his signature. He didn't rely on someone else reading the document on his behalf before he would sign it. Amalei Ula, so Ula says to Rabbi Yehuda, Lo tzrichis, it's not necessary. What you're doing is not necessary. Meaning somebody else could read the document on your behalf. Though Rabbi Lozer, Morad Eretz Yisrael, Koru Kamei V'chosim. Rabbi Lozer, who was, so Rashi says he was bulky, he was the most proficient person in Torah, and he himself allowed someone else to read it, and then he put his signature on. So you see, it's not b'di'evid relying on someone else if you have difficulty. Rav Nachman Koru Kamei Safik Daini V'chosim. Rav Nachman, the scribes of the court, which are credible scribes, they would what? They would read what they wrote, and then he put a signature on. As the head of the Bezdin, as the Rosh Bezdin, then he put a signature on the document. So the Gemara says, V'davka Rav Nachman, only Rav Nachman, B'safik Dedaini, meaning it had to be him as his person, and it has to be people who had the qualification of the scribes of the court. Couldn't be an ordinary so. Why? These two are so, because they're afraid of Rav Nachman. Unless it's done exactly as it should be done, they understand there can be severe consequences. So because there's so, there's fear, therefore what they read is going to be accurate, and Rav Nachman himself, being who he is, Rav Nachman Safi Achrini, what do we Rav Nachman be ordinary scribes, or Safi Dani V'Yidish Achrini? The Safi Daini, they don't have that level of reverence for anybody unless they're that special status. So if you have Safi Daini, it will be someone else, not Rav Nachman. Lo also would be not reliable. So you see, it's not so simple. When somebody reads something, unless there is that degree of reverence and the person himself understands the ramifications of reading correctly, you can't rely on it. You have to do it yourself. You have to do it yourself.
Or get two readers.
Well, who said there are no two readers here? Maybe there are two readers here.
Probably. Just got one reader. But now it says.
Where does it say one reader?
Well, with Rav Nachman, there's one reader.
No, it says Safi Dedaini. Does say one. Where do you say one? Right. I mean, otherwise, how do you rely on it? And let's say we're talking about it's a monetary document. How do you rely on one person reading it? Seemingly two people would have to read it.
Well, the note here says, well, we don't allow just one person to read the document.
Good.
If two readers are required.
That's what I'm saying, because it's a Dov Shebema, ain't Dov Shebe'er. If it's Dov Shebe'er, you need two, and if it's money, you also need two witnesses. So I'm saying. Because Rav Nachman, you have an Anand Sadi, that what they're reading is going to be accurate. It's Anand Sadi. No. Okay. The back and forth.
Right, about all these rulings of Shmuel.
Okay. Rav Popek have also coming shtor parso. When a Persian document, which means it was done in a non-Jewish court, David Bar Koshel Kusim. So we're speaking about earlier, if we're dealing with a monetary document, and we're talking about the professional judges who are not Jews, because they have a reputation, they're not going to do something illegal. Right? We discussed by a Dov Shebe'erva, let's say you have two goyim who are going to witness a marriage. It's meaningless. Because there it's not a question of verification. There is they create, them witnessing the marriage, they create the marriage. You have witnesses on a get. It's not to verify that she was divorced. They actually, if you hold Eri Chasima Karsi, that you have to have witnesses on the document, they create the instrument which terminates the marriage. So if they're not qualified as witnesses, it's nothing. But by a monetary document, what is it? It's purely verification. Did he borrow the money? Did he not borrow the money? The moment, let's say a person borrows money, it's not witnessed, it's not documented. On a Torah level, is the property liened? Property is liened. Except we don't allow the creditor to collect from the liened property because the buyer who bought the property is unaware that there's lien on the property. But on a Torah level, it's liened. So what do the witnesses do? They only verify that there was a loan. They're not creating the lien. They're verifying that there was a debt, and therefore there is a lien. So let's say we have an anasad who say with certainty that this type of court, that professional judges, and they do everything on the up and up, they will not in any way do something which will reflect negatively on them. So it's a valid document, even on Torah level, right? Because you have that anasadi. So there was a story, Rav Popki Avosil coming shtor parso, the Ovid Berko shel kusim. Some have the gears here, shel akum, right? They were going kusim because you get involved. Kusim is the question. They may be Jews, may not be Jews. Makri lu l'shnei kusim.
Why not just say not to? Why say kusim? Why
No, it's a question of the girsa in the text, what it reads. There's another text that reads Berko shel goyim.
Right. So
What? Kusim are Jews which are who?
with kusi, we have a whole other level of issue. So there may be Jews and not Jews. Really
But even if they're Jews, the question is, they went back. So we said that they're different. There's a kusi who's a chaver, and there's a kusi who's a hedjit.
Yeah.
Right? So we made that differentiation before. What do you mean? It's not a rabbinic act. Torah speaks about get. Yeah, but they may not do it right. Not only that, they're not qualified witnesses. They themselves are not qualified witnesses. So we say if he's a kusi chaver, it's another level. But here we're talking monetary. But here we're talking about, I understand. Having makri lu shnei kusin zeshlo b'fnei zeh b'mesich levitumo. He would summon two kusim, not in the presence of the other, and he would ask him questions mesich levitumo. Magim v'shabdi, and he would actually, the document would have the force that you'd even be able to collect from lien properties. So over here, Rashi himself asks, it says in the first parak that this type of document you can only collect from free properties, not from lien properties. So he says, over there, it was done with an ordinary court, not with this professional court, so word never got out. But if word gets out, there was no, why do you have to have a documented loan? It's buyer beware. But if the buyer cannot beware, so we can't victimize the buyer by him not knowing. What's this? Mesich lefitumo l'shnei kusim. What? He wasn't taking official testimony. He wasn't taking official testimony. That's to confirm that the document was a valid document. No. We want to know what that original document was. Right?
We don't know what it was. So he takes informal testimony.
That what? That it's not a forgery.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. But it has to be Mesich Vitum because they can't be trusted. The witnesses who are going to confirm, validate it. Right? Now, what's the whole idea of Mesich Vitum?
Yeah, what's going on?
Because to ask a person who's not credible directly, what is it? He may be lying. But if you speak about something else and only, by the way,
informal.
say he's not asked, and we find it many times that a person is not believed. But if he speaks with Fitumo, he is believed. For instance, we spoke about a case, Meis Balo. An Eid Echad is believed to say that a woman's husband died, right? Directly. If it's a woman, if it's a mother-in-law, whatever it may be. But what about a goy? What about a non-Jew? Non-Jew is not believed. But what about if he's telling over a story, he was there, and he saw a Jew being killed, and he attended the funeral, and he saw him being put into the ground. He's telling a tall tale, right? And there's no reason for him to lie. So we accept it, and we allow the woman to get married. But let's say he would come officially testify. Does anybody have information about someone dying? And he comes to testify. You don't accept it. If it be a Jew, even though it's not a qualified witness like a woman or a relative, you would believe it. But a goy, you would not believe. It has to be, by the way.
But
Otherwise, it can't be relied upon.
that's fine, but in the Gemara here, it says that they were taking one at a time. Is that Shalom B'nai
Because
Zeh?
he didn't want that
What's the
there should be.
difference, whether it's informal or not
No.
informal?
Because again, you need informal. Because the moment it takes on an official verification,
Yeah.
then you have to suspect that he may be telling you the wrong thing.
But they both are not saying the same thing. Then you know.
No. They said the same thing. They said the same thing. But
So
still,
that-
you can't. It has to be Sichel V'Tumo. You know, the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos that you should interrogate witnesses, but when you interrogate them, you have to do it in a way where they don't understand why you're asking the question. Because if they understand why you're asking, they'll know exactly what answer to give. No. A regular court, a bezdin,
Yeah.
Pirkei Avos,
Yeah.
right? You should go and interrogate the witnesses, but when you interrogate them, it should be in a way where they don't understand what you're trying to get at.
And why is that?
Because you want to verify that they're telling the truth. You want an honest answer. Very often, you ask a question away, the person could figure out exactly what answer you want. So the question has no value. Because the response is going to be exactly, you already gave it away by asking the question a certain way. So it's an art to ask a question.
You know, it's funny, the security people, Israeli security people by Allah, they do the same thing when you interrogate the passengers. They really confuse you with questions you don't understand.
Okay.
It's the same thing.
You know why? Because they studied the Gemara, they didn't understand. They were confused. So they asked you the same question they're confused about. Okay? Essentially, it's the first time I ever heard the term that they interrogate you. They put you under interrogation.
They do, actually.
Okay? Amar Ravashi, Amar li Huna, Amar li Rav Huna bar Nosa, Hochi Amar Meimar. Ravashi says that Rav Huna bar Nosa told him and said, this is what Meimar said, Haishter parsud l'chasim alei sadi Yisrael, magbinim mishabdi. That if you have Jewish witnesses, then you have the ability, then it has the force to collect from Shubadim. Someone asks,
Secular document that was signed.
it was written in Persian.
Jewish people want to make a deal and they sign a secular document.
No, it's more, it's written in Persian,
It's a secular document.
but it's written in a foreign language. Right? We're not just saying that, the text is written in languages which is not usually the language a Jew understands. But you could, and they signed on it. So the Gemara asks, Lo Yadi, Lemikri. I mean, what do you mean you signed? So who read the document for you? Said it be read. So who read the document? A goy. You can't rely on the reading of a goy. Before we said, you have to have mirsas. Right? Even among Jews you have to have mirsas if you don't read. That the reading is credible reading. Somebody asks, Lo Yadi, Lemikri. How did they sign on the documents written in another language? They don't understand the language. B'diyadik. They understand the language. But the document, what about if the document, the signature, it's written on paper where if there's an erasure, you're not going to be able to realize that there was an erasure. So that means it's a forgeable document. And the goyim, they're not careful when it comes to this. No, proof. We're talking about the proof. The proof. So we're asking many things. They signed on it. Who says factually there was ever a debt? Right? They don't even know what they signed on. Right? They told it was a laundry list. They put the signature on it.
So there wouldn't be a call,
Not only is there a call, it's not even credible, period. Even to collect from B'nai Chori, it's not credible.
I know, but so much more.
Now the Gemara is even more than that. Maybe it was forged. The document has to be it's not forgeable.
But Rabbi, the way we sign today, when you have a notary that signs a document or you have witnesses to a document, what they really are doing is attesting to the signature of the person who signed.
No, we're not talking about. We're not verifying signatures here.
We're not.
We're talking about the witness.
They don't have any knowledge of the document.
No,
It could be
we're not
written in
talking the
English, it could
notary.
be written in Greek.
We're not talking about the notary. We're talking about the witness who actually signed on the document.
That's what I'm talking about.
They're not I sign on a document. I don't even know what I'm signing on. It says, Mr. So-and-so owes somebody $1 million. Right? And you don't even know the Mr. So-and-so. You don't even know if he's the lender. Right? Or he's the borrower. He says, I want you to sign this document that so-and-so owes me. You're not allowed to sign the document. Because now he has what? He has a document which he'll be able to collect from so-and-so. Right? So you have to know what you're signing. So how do you sign a document you don't even know what's written in the document? You don't understand the language. Would you put your signature on documents written in Chinese? You don't even know what's written. Maybe it's incriminating you. Maybe it says you borrowed. I owe, so maybe it's an IU and you put your signature on an IUU. You want to put it on it. So the Gemara asks, how could it be credible? They don't understand the language. They understand the language. Somebody says, but it's forgeable. Maybe they inserted information there, which originally when you put the signature, your signature wasn't there, and now it is there. And that Emor says the document was treated, the paper was treated in a way that if there were any erasures, it would be noticeable. Emor says, b'dafitzon, meaning it was treated, the parchment was treated.
You would see a forgery.
So if there was any change,
Right.
not if there was any change in the document,
You would notice it.
you would notice it. You see the erasure.
Prevent the forgery.
Right. It has to be written in a certain format that it concludes. There's a summation of the document. Everything was written correctly. So we're saying, Mike Kamasha, what's the chidush?
Right.
You have a document that's a credible 100 document that meets all the criteria of halacha. So it says you can collect from a shabdi. Well, why shouldn't you be able to collect? It's a credible document. If you write a document in English and you meet all halachic prerequisites, you say, by the way, that's credible. Why shouldn't it be credible? Choloshin kosher, that's what it's telling us. That a document, could you imagine, a person, or Ravad Yosef has a shailo, to be a Balkori, it's not so simple. You have to prepare, you have to memorize the cantillations, we'll call the Tami HaMikro. So you had a shailo, are you permitted in the Sefer Torah to add the Tami HaMikro in the Sefer Torah? You know, Ravig, Kadma Vazla, whatever the cantillation, put it in, make it easy for the Balkori. Like he doesn't have to prepare. Is that considered altering the Sefer? It's like putting a letter that's not a valid letter.
No.
They look for a Sephardic chief rabbi. Okay. So I think he says, I haven't seen it in many years, I think he says it's valid. It's b'di'evet. It's something that should not be done, but if it's done, it's a valid Sefer Torah.
The vowels?
No, the Nikudim.
You say the same thing.
I think even the vowels. I think it says even the vowels. What invalidates Sefer Torah is if he had letters. Let's say a person would decorate the parchment with flowers or with something else other than the text. It's not appropriate. But factually, it's kosher. Because you did not add letters or words to the Torah. You didn't add, you can detract.
But the vowels you're not supposed to add or subtract anything from the Sefer Torah.
That's his chidush. That's only the letters. What you added is not letters.
What is it?
It's cantillations. It's Tamei HaMikra.
Yeah, but you're supposed to memorize it and...
Is that what your bar mitzvah teacher taught you? Okay. Okay.
Amen.
Exactly. The chiddush is my kamasha and the chol loshen kosher. A document, regardless of what language it's written in, it's a valid document.
I want to come back here about forging documents. A loan document is always signed by the borrower.
No, not in halacha. That's called an IOU. That's when,
Who signs a loan document? Does not the borrower always have to put his signature on a
no,
loan document?
no.
Third party.
A borrower writes a document. He has two witnesses signed to indicate what his intent is. His intent is to borrow so much money from someone else. And he asks witnesses to sign the document. So he takes that document, goes to the lender and says, could you lend me $1,000? And you verify the signatures that these are credible people who signed. And the lender, if he's agreeable to lend, will give him the money and takes the document. So now the document says that the borrower borrowed so much and the witness is being valid. That's considered the equivalent of testimony saying that he owes him that amount of money.
But the borrower himself does not have to
No,
sign.
no, does not sign.
So we're worried that the lender may have cooked this document.
Exactly. He may have, let's say it said 100 and he put in 1,000. He could have altered the document or some of the information. It was conditional, it was not, or let's say the terms of the document, the extent of the loan, many things. So if it could be changed or altered, it's not valid.
But if a lender wrote a document, took it to two witnesses and said sign,
It's a legal document. They will not sign the document.
but he manipulated it.
So they did something. So it's like he paid them off. He paid witnesses to do something illegal.
Well, let's suppose that didn't happen. He persuaded them with words. He misled them to signing the document.
So they did the wrong thing. It's not a valid document. It's not valid.
Why shouldn't the borrower
No,
have
but-
to sign?
But it's
But
enforceable.
Now
It's
there's
not
a
enforceable.
document.
It's not
There's a-
enforceable.
How do we know?
Why? Because it's not enforceable.
How do you know it's not enforceable?
Because
You
it's
showed the
illegal.
priest and-
No, because they don't know. They think it's credible. It's always that way. What happens if a person forges a document and it's such a forgery they can't prove that it's a forgery? So the thief is going to collect. Of course, it's enforceable. How witnesses testify, and you can't prove they're lying. What do? You put the person to death.
But
Same.
That's why the borrower, in secular law, the borrower
Has
always
to
has to have
sign.
his signature on the document.
Yeah.
Because then this couldn't happen.
He'll claim it's a forgery. What about he claims his signature's a forgery?
Well, that can always happen, but that can be tested. We can subject that signature to testing.
I don't think a loan document. I'm not sure. A loan document always says because he borrowed from the bank.
If a loan doc or whoever,
Or individual.
here we always make the borrower, whether it's a corporation,
Not sure.
whether it's a, we always make the borrower sign the document, and there are witnesses to the document. So
In
now you have
halacha, there's
two
no such
things.
thing. In halacha, there's no such thing as the borrower. The borrower signing is called an IOU. IOU is sufficient, but an IOU you don't collect from Shabbatim. You're not going to collect from lien properties. Of course, since it's on a very private level, word doesn't get it out into the market that the man borrowed.
Because this way, the witnesses are witnessing the borrower put his signature on the document. And no one would do that to him or herself.
Put it this way: Edom have cheskes kashrus. There's the Torah law. They have a presumed status. They do the right thing. We don't have to suspect that they were manipulated by the lender that they should do something illegal. That's it. Cheskes kashrus. Otherwise, I mean, a man brings two witnesses that his wife committed adultery. Maybe he manipulated him that they should testify that she committed adultery.
If you take today, a loan document could be 40 pages long, and you have witnesses signing the document. Are we really expecting the witnesses to read that document? Is that what is expected?
No, the witnesses are just...
No.
I'm talking about
I'm
we
asking
sign
you a
the
question.
document, we're just verifying signature of the borrower. But here we're saying the witnesses have to
So
understand
I'm asking you. It's not simple. Let's say in those 40 pages, there's certain things, and who's asking you to sign the document? If the borrower, and the borrower says it's okay, you could sign.
That's what I'm saying.
But without the authorization of the borrower, you're not permitted to sign the document. The lender could draw up the document, but you cannot put your signature on the document unless the borrower agrees that you should sign.
Because that's what happens. The lenders draw up the document.
No question.
Okay, now
They
the
draw up the
borrower-
text of the document.
Yes, they draw up the text of the document.
Right.
They ask the borrower to put his signature on the document.
I'm explaining to you why.
In the
We
presence
don't
of notary-
suspect that the witnesses were manipulated by the lender. So the reason why the witness put the signature was the borrower said to the text is okay with me. I'm agreeable to the text, so then now they can put the signatures on it.
Because we don't say that here.
I understand that, but I'm
We
telling
say
you,
the
because we
borrower
go
says to the
in,
witness.
we have a cheskes kashrus. We're not concerned that they were manipulated by the lender.
But the borrower says to the notary or to the witnesses, I'm going to sign the document, and that function is just to verify that the borrower put his signature on the document.
Okay? That's the notary.
Yeah, or witnesses. Notary is a different
Correct.
kind of a verification.
So if you have instance, what do you need witnesses for? What do you need witnesses if you have the borrower's signature? You don't need witnesses.
Why do we require a notary or witnesses?
No, but notary you need because notary says that this is an authentic signature. That's the equivalent of a handpick of a cert.
And the witnesses do the same thing.
But you don't need the witnesses.
If you have a notary...
If you have a notary, do
No,
you
but
need...
if you don't have a notary, there are some... Take a will, for example, in secular law. You write a will. You need both a notary and you need witnesses. They go machmir. They want that level. That's the law. That's what they require.
Okay.
Some documents it's just a notary. Some cases it's just... and I don't know what the differences are.
You mean besides the signature of the person who...
It's always the signature of the person.
Okay, now-
In addition to that, they're requiring...
In halacha, as I said, in halacha, ksav yad, IOU, is enforceable only from b'nei chorin, only to collect from unlien properties. Lien properties, you need witnesses. And once you have witnesses, you don't have to have the man's signature.
I mean, I could say that...
But again, you have to have you need a certification of the court. The court has to validate those witnesses to prove that they're not forgeries.
So it's more than the person's signature.
No, but I'm coming back.
But I'm explaining to you why you don't need. We don't suspect that the witnesses were manipulated by the lender, because there's a cheskes kashrus, there's a presumed status to not do something which is illegal. They're not permitted to put their signatures on the document unless the borrower authorizes their signing the document.
It just seems to me to be an extreme requirement that's going to slow everything down and make life
If
difficult.
what?
If you require the witnesses to know what the content
But I'm explaining to you. But if the borrower says it's okay for them to sign,
and it's okay.
so there's no problem.
So then they don't have to read the document.
They don't have to read the document.
It could be in Greek.
Well, they don't even know if he's a borrower. They have to know he's a borrower. Maybe this
No, he says
document...
he's a borrower. He says, I'm borrowing...
How do you
from
know
Greek."
he's borrowing? It's written in Greek. Maybe it says the document says maybe he's a lender.
But the borrower is saying, I'm signing here this...
But how do you know he's a borrower? Maybe he's a lender. Maybe something, who knows what the document says. Maybe the document says that he owns a piece of property. So they have to be able to read something. They can't read it. They don't even know what they're signing on. You ask about every detail, the 40-page document. So if they see Reuven is borrowing from Shimon and this is the borrower, he says, I've gone through it, you could sign it. Okay, so he's authorized. I don't have to know every detail of the document. But minimally, you have to know that it's a loan document. And when you sign it, that he's the one who's going to be bound to the document. Okay.
Rabbi,
Dave, you don't read everything you sign.
quick question.
40 pages.
In the get,
We have people
today,
read it for you. We'll read
can the get be written in
people read
English?
it to you to tell you it's okay to sign?
No,
Yeah, we people.
Why not?
He says...
because that's the way they
In essence, you're...
on a Torah level are written in English. On a Torah level.
That's my
But not
question.
on a repetitive.
Nobody signs.
Tanina, we learned in the Mishnah. Get shekosu ivris.
They don't say business.
The aid of Yivonis. Here, the get is written in one language, and the signatures are in other characters, Greek. Yivonis ve'ed of Ivris kosher. He said the chiddush of what he said over here is that regarding the document that's written in Greek, the chiddush is that even though you met all the halacha criteria that it's not forgeable, to tell me that it's what? That although it's written in another language, it's valid, the document. He says, but it's a Mishnah. We learned in the Mishnah that it gets written in Ivris and the witness signed in Greek or vice versa, kosher. So why isn't that sufficient? I would think that's a little Gitten because we said earlier that by Gitten, even if the witnesses cannot read, but somebody else reads and they sign, right, or we make the stencil for them, that's only Mishum Haguna Akilu B'Rabbanan, right? That's only because we don't want the woman to remain bound. By Shar Shtoris, maybe we're Machmir. So I'd say that's by Gitten, that's a get. But how do we know shar shtaris if it's other documents, monetary documents? How do we know it's valid? So that's what he's saying, that even if it's written in another language, get avo shar shtaris lo kamash malon.
You can't say it's Greek to me.
If you come
I'm not late, I can't say anything. Okay.
it's Greek.
Thank you for sharing.
Omar Shmuel, nosluk nia cholok. You hear this? A person gives a woman a blank piece of paper. You look at it, you don't see any words on it. V'omar harizeh gitech, and he says, this is your get. Megureshes. One second. Chayshin Hashem may milin kosvel. Of course, we suspect it may have been written with very light, a type of writing material, which is barely legible, but factually the text is there, and because the text is there, therefore he gave her a get.
Does that mean someone
No.
saw the text?
We didn't see, but he said harizeh gitech. There's reason to suspect that it may, which means what happens now? She accepts kedushin from another party, right? So she's a suffix eshes ish. A woman is a cheskes eshes ish, okay? But over here, because he said harizeh gitech, you know, it's interesting. The Gemara says in the Mishnah says in kedushin that if a man says to a person's a Russia, he says harei mugadesh I'm nashali tzadik no more. So it's his choshen the kedushin. Right? We suspect it may be a kedushin. So the question is, why? But he's a Russia. So the Ritva explains, because since he said it, he has a cheskes Russia. Why should he even suspect that we didn't see the tshuva? Because since he made the statement, Al Nashani Tzadik Gomor, that's reason for us to suspect that maybe he did tshuva and he's no longer Russia. The same thing over here. You get normally a woman has a blank piece of paper, right? Means nothing. But since he said Harei Mugureshes, there's the husband saying Harei Mugureshes. There's reason to suspect that although visually we didn't see anything on the paper, we didn't. There may have been. There may have been. One second. Therefore, if she accepts kedusha from a third party, she's something mekudeshes. So Mar asks, Meisha Harei Gitech V'dot Loso V'zok Kosel Liyam Odor. O lechol dover ovid v'chozag omar shtar pasiku shtar amonu mugureshes v'lo kol hemnu l'osro. Here, person takes a get and he gives it to her. He says, "This you get," and then he takes it, he throws it in the ocean, burns it.
She does.
1
He
second.
does.
V'chozag omar shtar pasiku. He says the document he gave you was shtar amonu. It was some kind of loan document. And he has no right by saying that. She didn't read the document. He can't prohibit her, because since there was text on it, and he says the presumption is that text was a get. But you had to have a text. Here. Meaning it was verified that they put something on it and it came to surface. Let's say it was blank and they tried to bring it to surface, they saw nothing on it. They said maybe it was embedded. It was like a watermark in the paper. But nobody ever knew it. And it was never verified, then there's nothing to be concerned.